When I was like 10 years old, I went shopping with my mom, and I found a crop top shirt that said muscles on it. And I said, Mom, can I have that muscles shirt? And she said no. And I said, why? And she said, because the first time someone says, where's your muscles? You'll never wear it again. And I remember I had to really contemplate what she meant, because it didn't occur to me that the shirt insinuated that I had muscles. I wanted the shirt because I was just generally a fan of muscles. In college, I was in a relationship with this guy named Adam, and one day where I was working, his ex-boyfriend walked in and said, you can have Adam. And I was like, what? You guys broke up like 2 years ago. And he said, no, we didn't. And then we put our stories together, and this web of deception unfolded. He was in a relationship with both of us for like 2 years, and neither one of us knew. So we sent Adam's pager a message because it was the 90s. And we went to his house to confront him, and when we got there, he was really drunk, and he started crying, and he ran out the front door. So both of us ran after him, and now we're all three running down the sidewalk, crying, screaming Adam's name. And at the time, that was really traumatic, but looking back, that story is really stupid. When I was like 12 years old, I discovered that wine was made with fermented grape juice. So I snuck into the kitchen and got a bottle of Welch's grape juice and thought, wouldn't it be so adult if I had a bottle of wine in my closet? And I checked on it every day to see if it had turned into wine yet, and then eventually just forgot about it. And then like a year later, I rediscovered it and thought, oh my God, there's a bottle of wine in my closet. And I thought, now is the moment. So I opened it up, and it smelled disgusting. And I was like, are you ready to be an adult or not? So I put the bottle to my lips, and this like disc of mold slid into my mouth. And I thought, I guess I'm not ready to be an adult. When I was like 9 years old, for a very brief moment, I thought the word tatas meant toes. And so I asked my grandmother, Grandma, do you ever paint your tatas? And she was like, what? And I was like, do you ever paint your tatas? And she was like, people don't do that. And I'm like, yes, they do. Mom does it all the time. And I was like, anyway, if you ever decide to paint your tatas, I think you should paint them green. A long time ago, I went on a date with this guy, and I'm very prone to social anxiety, but on a first date, I'll just be fully awkward. Like, why am I talking weird and I don't know how to move my arms? And we met at this place, and we were waiting for our table, and right then a roach ran across the floor. And I don't know why I did this. I swear this is not something I would normally do. But I knelt down and gently picked up the roach and opened the door and set it free into the wild. And for a brief moment I thought, he's gonna think I'm like a cool nature guy. And then I turn around and I see his face, and he's sort of pale and horrified. And so I just freeze. And then he's like, do you need to go wash your hands? And now I'm like, great, he thinks I'm not gonna wash my hands, and I don't know, maybe I wasn't. The whole thing was a blur. When I was like 10 years old, there was a box of Maxi pads in the bathroom, and I said, Mom, what are these? And she said, you put them in your underwear. So the next morning before school, I put one in my underwear, adhesive side up, and went to school, and it was really uncomfortable. And then I went to the bathroom to try to peel it off, and that adhesive is really strong. And I was in there a long time, and then the teacher came in and said, Kevin, are you okay? And I said, yes. And then I thought, maybe if I get it wet, it'll peel off easier. So I went over to the sink, and then the teacher came back in, and she just froze. I could tell she couldn't quite comprehend what she was looking at, and she just turned around and left. I was like 10 years old. We were watching TV, and they had on male strippers, and they started dancing around, and I got really excited, and I said, Mom, are they about to take off their pants? and they looked a little concerned. And then the next morning, I recounted the entire thing in great detail to my grandma, and she said, well, I don't like that sort of thing. And I said, I do. I love it, Grandma. When I was like 16 years old, I got a job washing dishes at a crappy diner. And there was a manager named Pam, and she was terrible. And no one could last longer than a couple of weeks. And one time it was really busy, and the cook just walked out. And everyone started freaking out. But I just walked up to the grill and started cooking. And it was like a scene in a movie, like the lowly peasant dishwasher saves the day, and Pam started putting me on the schedule as a cook, and after a couple of months, this is totally true, I was like the main cook at the crappy diner because everyone had just quit. But Pam eventually became a monster again, and I'd had enough. And I was about to walk out, and Pam was like, Kevin, where are you going? And I turned around, and I was like, Pam, I'm only 16 years old.